yeah, on my first day, I filled out like 50 questionnaires.
Wow.
The founder was super impressed. It wasn't really planned. I think it came natural to me. Those are important components that I see a lot of people not do. I've trained many different salespeople over time, and I always see them jumping on the call completely unprepared, show up to every call with intention. I don't necessarily have a framework, a blueprint. I mean, I was literally training somebody the other day, and I said, when is the last time that you watched one of your sales calls? Remember, you're not the only salesperson that they're talking to. In that case, you can definitely play the emotional game. You can do 100 calls a day, set up yourself for success, set up your environment for success. To be honest, I find it a bit more difficult to focus in Bali.
Kevin,
What's up?
how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
You arrived not long ago in Bali, but last weekend we were in Lombok together.
Yeah,
Bali or Lombok?
definitely Bali.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I think Lombok is one of those places where I would only be able to stay personally, probably max 2-3 days, and then, come back to Bali.
Okay. I really fell in love with Lombok, so I
Yeah?
haven't decided yet actually.
What did you like the most?
The views, honestly the views and the vibe. Welcome everyone, this is Kevin. Now, Kevin is a good friend of mine, but also a sales high-ticket closer. So he's arrived in Bali and he's gonna live in Bali. He is here to explain a little bit of his journey of how he became a high-ticket closer and how it impacted his life and how he can live this wonderful lifestyle in Bali and continue his sharing his expertise and continuing his growth in the sales environment, I guess. Kevin, have you always been in sales? Did you plan to be in sales? Or did you just end up in sales and realize that you really liked it?
That is a good question. I think my first, let's say, professional job was as a financial analyst. And then I came to the realization that I didn't like to sit in front of a laptop looking at spreadsheets all day, every day. And then I was living in Milan at the time. I was 16 years old, and I used to spend the summers back in Barcelona during the summer period, the summer holiday. And I linked up with a friend that got me a job at this company in Barcelona. And that was my first ever sales job. We used to sell home water filters, and yeah, I think that was the moment I realized that was something for me. What we used to do to generate leads was we used to go to the busiest streets in Barcelona and literally stop people so that they could fill out a questionnaire. And yeah, on my first day, I think I filled out like 50 questionnaires.
Oh, wow.
The founder was super impressed because the average per salesperson was around like 10 to 15. And yeah, we used to gather all the information from the lead and then give them a cold call to set up in-person appointments to then pitch the product in their home. And that's the moment that, I realized that was something for me. It wasn't really planned. I think it came natural to me. I think my dad's a really good salesman. I've always heard my dad speak on the phone, pitch people, have meetings, and from a young age I saw how he conducted himself, and I think I learned a lot from him.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your dad was in sales also.
Yeah, he's been in sales for pretty much the whole life.
That's super interesting. Do you think there's a few things that probably separate you from other high-ticket closers or sales guys? What do you think is the one thing that separates you the most? Are you maybe more knowledgeable about the product? Are you maybe more of a listener? Do you connect more with people?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think it's a combination of many things that I've kind of nailed down over time. The very first thing, I think it comes before the sales call, which is preparation for the sales call, right? Do you look presentable? Number one. Do you have good lighting? Number two. Number three, is your audio crisp? And then yeah, like those are definitely important components that I see a lot of people not do. I've trained many different salespeople over time, and I always see them jumping on the call completely unprepared. The image looks blurry. Maybe they don't have good Wi-Fi and the internet is lagging. So those are minor things that people disregard, but are equally as important. Number two, I think it's really about leading the conversation, controlling the conversation from the moment you meet the client. I don't necessarily have a framework, a blueprint, but I always kind of use the same structure. The pitch is not always the same. It varies from client to client, but I always use the same sort of, let's say, strategy or structure, as I said. It's really about connecting with the client. Remember, you're not the first salesperson. You're not the only salesperson that they're talking to. They're probably talking to 3, 4, 5 different agents or salespeople in many different countries, right? Let's say, for example, that you sell off-plan villas in Bali.
Yeah.
The client that you're talking to is probably talking to another sales agent in Dubai, another sales agent in Thailand, another sales agent in Georgia, and then yourself. So what is it that you're going to do, or what do you need to do in order to be top of mind for them? Number one, you have to convince them that Bali is the place to invest in. Number two, you have to convince them that the villa that they're going to invest in is the right one within Bali. And then number three, you're going to have to convince them that you're the right agent that they can trust and pull out their card and spend $200,000, $300,000, $400,000.
Yeah.
And that's, I think it's a skill that you can, let's say, develop over time. The most important thing that I would recommend any sales agent is to, first of all, go for volume. Practice makes perfect, but it doesn't make any difference. It doesn't make any sense if you're jumped on 100 calls and you haven't looked back and analyzed, what can I do better?
Yeah.
Right? A lot of the people, I mean, I was literally training somebody the other day and I said, when is the last time that you watched one of your sales call? And he said, I don't record them. I've never watched them. So
big mistake.
Yeah, it's a huge mistake. I mean, I allocate 2 hours a week to literally go through my top, let's say, sales calls, sit down, listen, write down, what can I improve? Am I saying too many ums? Am I not coming across as confident? Am I looking around in the camera too much? Do I not know a certain question, like the answer to a certain question? So those are all very important components that I think that differentiates me to other, let's say, closers.
Super interesting. Okay. You talked a little bit about this, but I don't know. Do you generally have a routine before? Like, of course, you prepare your audio, your visuals, etc. But maybe do you have a mindset routine that you go through? Do you do? Some people talk about breath work before their call. I don't know if you follow that.
I actually used to in the very beginning when I was, let's say, new to sales. I think over time, jumping into a sales call has become pretty natural to me.
Okay.
I think when it comes to mindset, I mean, that's a whole separate beast. That's a whole separate conversation, probably for another time.
Yeah.
But you have to look at yourself and ask yourself, would I buy from the person that I'm looking at right now? And if the answer is no, then you have some work to be done. I think that from the moment I wake up, I optimize my day for, high performance, from having a good sleep, having a good diet, surrounding myself with like-minded individuals, hitting the gym, doing exercise. And it really shows. I mean, I think the moments where I've been, let's say, low on energy or, let's say, not on my top game, I've not closed as many deals as I would if I was in the right state of mind. So looking after your health, mental health, physical health, spiritual health is probably when you go to the gym, they say you can go to the gym every single day, but if you don't have the right diet, it doesn't make any sense. So I think it's the same in sales. You can do 100 calls a day, but if you're not in the right mindset, if you're not looking after yourself, it's going to affect performance.
Okay, yeah, true. Okay, so right before Bali, you were in Barcelona, is that correct?
Yes. I mean, I've been living in Bali for the past 2 years, but I was just in Barcelona for the past 4 months, visiting family, spending time with them. Yeah, just really enjoying family
Okay,
time.
I thought you were living in Barcelona for a longer period than that. I was gonna ask, do you think living in... No, actually, I don't really know how your lifestyle is in Barcelona, so I'm not gonna assume. Just because I love Bali, I'm thinking Bali is the best compared to everything else. But do you prefer living in Bali or Barcelona? Do you think you have a healthier lifestyle in either or? And does that impact your performance as a sales coach?
Good question. I mean, to be quite honest, I think I was a lot more locked in Barcelona. I'm not entirely sure why, but the past 4 months, I probably spent 12 hours a day on my laptop, 7 days a week. And yeah, that's because I told myself I had one goal, and was, to close my first deal in real estate. And it's been really a really good journey. I mean, over the past 3 months, I've closed over $3 million in real estate deals. And yeah, to be honest, I find it a bit more difficult to focus in Bali. Weather's nice, it's busy, you always feel like you need to do something and not just work. Yeah, I think I find it harder to focus in Bali, definitely. But I like living here more than I do in Barcelona.
Okay, very good point, actually. I would have thought you perform better in Bali because you're more balanced, as in it's easier to eat healthy. It's easier to, first of all, you get a lump sum, that's already healthy. It's easier to network here. It's easier to overall be happier, but it's true that it's also easier to be more distracted.
You definitely have more balance in Bali because you get the best of everything, but that comes with, let's say, less input for certain tasks that you want to prioritize. Sometimes it does come down to discipline at the end of the day. I've just arrived, so it's only been a couple of weeks that I'm here, and I feel like, I need to go to the beach, I need to network, so I'm spending...
Lombok.
Yeah, sorry?
Go to Lombok.
Go to Lombok, for example. Yeah, spend 48 hours in Lombok with you. So yeah.
You say it like it was a chore.
It was a distraction. No, I'm joking.
All right. I'm really curious to know, can you pinpoint a few mistakes that people generally do? Maybe from experience, or maybe in your opinion, could you pinpoint a few mistakes that people can correct to already improve their high ticket closing game or their sales game?
For sure, I think there's quite a few factors that I could name. Number one, as I said before, set up yourself for success, set up your environment for success. Make sure that the room that you're sitting in is comfortable, has good lighting, has good audio, has good AC if it's hot, so you're not sweating. You have to set yourself up for success. That's number one. Number two is you have to know the product like the back of your hand. Do you really know what you're selling? Are you able to answer every single question that the prospect asks?
Yeah.
And I see a lot of people where they think they know the answers to those questions, but they really don't, or they do, but they don't answer them in a way where they can convey trust and confidence with the prospect. So yeah, in conclusion, definitely know the product. Number three is, I see a lot of people just talking about themselves and how the product helps them.
Yes.
I would turn that around and really do your best to listen to the client's needs. A lot of the times the client does a lot of the work on your behalf. They're selling to themselves. If you jump on a call and tell them like, hey, so nice to meet you. I guess, we can start by, I would love to ask you, why are we on the call today? What made you reach out? Why are you looking for an investment in Bali? And that's when the client starts opening up. They tell you why they want to invest money in Bali. They're looking for high ROI. They're looking for, whatever the reason may be. So just make sure that you pay close attention. You have to be actively listening to the prospect. If you're just thinking about one thing and one thing only, and that's closing the sale, you're going to come across as that. Mm-hmm. So definitely do your best to listen to the client, connect with the client, build that relationship. So the way I structure my calls is I usually close in 2 to 3 calls, depending on the client. The very first call is just really about breaking the ice, introducing ourselves, building rapport, and just going through needs assessment, right? What is it that they really need? And I have a list of questions that I asked them. Is it your first time investing into real estate? What made you reach out? Why are you interested in Bali? What is it important to you from an investment perspective? And once I gathered those questions, I kind of let them know that, hey, like this might sound like a good fit. I think I could help you out.
Yeah.
And then I just give them a brief overview of the market, the product. And then I cut the call. I kind of, tell them that I need to jump into another call just to show that we're busy people and we're not just allocating so much time into them. The second call is where I dive deeper into the offer, the product, and answer any questions that they might have. And then the third call is really, if a client shows up to the third call, it's because they're there to be sold. They're asking you like, hey, I want to, they might need a bit more information, but chances are if they show up to the third call and you've done the right thing, step one and step two, it is very likely that you'll convert. So yeah, make sure you set up yourself for success, know the product like the back of your hand, have a solid framework, and just have a solid procedure to follow up with leads. I see a lot of the people complaining, hey Kev, like my clients are not showing up to the calls. Well, are you sending the reminders 24 hours before the meeting, 1 hour before the meeting to avoid no-shows? After the call, what are you doing to provide the most value and summarize the meeting in a way that the lead is engaged? And yeah, I think those are my top four pieces of advice.
That people should correct. Okay, it's very interesting because I remember I used to sell a lot of fitness coaching programs when I was a fitness coach. But the thing is, I played a lot. So coming back to what you said, the client himself is going to sell himself. And I would play a lot on the emotions. Not that I would play with the client, but it's just easier for the client to convince himself that he needs it and just to pinpoint on a few of the emotions he's feeling. So for example, if he's feeling unfit and it's impacting his social life, then talk about the impact on his social life. I found that a very good way to sell. But in the sense of real estate, I feel there are less emotional strings to pull on. Do you agree? Do you think it's easier to sell income generating asset, or do you think it's easier to sell an emotional affecting product? What's your opinion?
I think you make a very good point. It does make sense for the fitness niche to sell based on the idea of what will you look like, what will you be, and how will you feel once you've done the work, which is hit the gym, eat well, etc., etc. In real estate, I think it depends. There's two types of, let's say, purchases or investment. Number one is for personal use. So that's a lot more emotional, right? Somebody that wants to buy a second home, somebody that wants to buy a home so that they can spend time with their family. That's a bit more emotional. It depends on the location. It depends on the architecture. So it's more of an emotional purchase. When it comes to investment, it's purely numbers based. We're looking at the numbers. How much do I put in and how much do I get back?
Interesting.
Now, when it comes to investment, the second option, there are people that you can play the emotional game a bit more. And those are the people that have, let's say, earned their money in their hard way, and spending $200,000 on an off-plan apartment, for example, means a lot to them because they've saved up a lot of money over time. So in that case, you can definitely play the emotional game. For the person that's sitting with millions of dollars in their bank account, it's less emotional. They're just looking to get rid of the cash. They're looking to invest. They've done this many, many times. So I think for scenario number one, which is that person that has been saving up money for years and they've earned their money in a hard way, you can certainly be like, hey, what does it mean for you to invest in Bali? And a lot of the times they'll say like, hey, I'm just looking for passive income. I want to supplement my income. I want to quit my 9-to-5 job, and I think that if I invest in Bali, I'll be able to replace my income. So in that case, it's a lot easier to play the emotional game. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Very good points. Okay, and then I would always consider myself a high ticket closer,
Yeah.
because my programs were quite expensive, but actually I'm not in the same arena than the high ticket closers in real estate, because it's another level.
Yeah.
What are the biggest misconceptions or disparities between what we used to say a general sales and a high ticket closer? What is the real, of course, apart from the amount, what is the real difference? What makes a good sales guy and what makes a good high ticket closer?
That's a super good question. And I think the answer is there's absolutely no difference.
Oh, damn.
There's absolutely no difference. I mean, I've been in sales for the past 8 years. I've sold from, software subscriptions to marketing agency services to real estate. The process is exactly the same. I've always used the same process. It doesn't take more calls to close somebody on when you're selling a monthly subscription of $3,000 for marketing services, or a $200,000 one-off investment in Bali, for example. The process is exactly the same. The questions that you get are exactly the same. I think I would even state that it's a lot harder sometimes to sell a $3,000 a month package than a $200,000 home in Bali. A lot of the times, you're talking to different,
Income brackets.
Income brackets, yeah, people with different income brackets. The person that is going to splash $200,000, for example, most of the times they have the money. They have the money. They've done this previously. It means a lot less than the $3,000 a month lead. So
such an interesting point.
Definitely, I would argue that it's come easier for me to sell high ticket items as opposed to lower ticket items. But when it comes to the, let's say, structure, mentality, strategy, objection handling, follow-ups, the process is exactly the same. Is exactly the same. Maybe you definitely need to sound sharper. Would you spend $200,000 with someone that is unprepared, that doesn't sound confident, that doesn't match up to the expectations in terms of how they present themselves, how they communicate, what they're wearing? So yeah, there's a few things that are a bit different from one another, but I would say that 90% of the process remains the same.
That is fascinating. I would not expect you to say it's actually the same. It's the same to sell a low ticket item and a high ticket item. Okay, let's ask about, let's say, how do you handle an objection that is not related to the price? In my case, if the price is not an objection, then emotions are. Here, if it's real estate, nearly everything revolves around the price. So how would you come about an objection if it's not about the price? Would it be about trust? Generally, from your experience, what is it about?
That's a really good question. I think that the way I structure my calls is to make sure that over time, I've gathered enough information, I've gathered enough data, I've gathered enough questions that I've integrated all of the objections into my pitch. So by the time that we're done with the call, there's very few answers left. There's very few doubts or objections left. Now, when I end the call, I usually ask them, "Hi, August. I feel like we've had a very productive chat. Now, my question to you is, from a scale from 1 to 10, how confident are you in proceeding? How confident are you in investing with us?"
Really good question.
And a lot of the times they'll say, "I think it's about 8. And I say, "Thanks, August. Well, what can we do? What can I do to take the 8 to a 10? What's missing?" And that's when they start opening up. That's when they start kind of, that's when you start peeling the layers of the onion, how I say it.
Yeah.
And yeah, most of the times they'll tell you, "Well, I think the product is great. I think Bali's the right market. but I hear that there's a lot of scams in Bali, for example. Number one is you have to acknowledge the objection. Thanks, it makes perfect sense, and you're completely right. There are a lot of scams in Bali, but the second thing that you have to do is kind of, keep their guard down. Well, there's a lot of scams, but just to kind of give you a better perspective, we've been running for 5 years. We're not small developer. We have 6 developments. We launch a development every 3 months. And the way that we structure our payment plan is in installments following construction. So by the time the next payment hits, you should be able to see significant amount of progress in the construction. When you invest with us, you get regular updates from our construction team where you can see what we're working on, is the foundation started to be built, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, I think each objection is answered differently, but the process is always the same. Kind of, acknowledge, thank them for opening up, acknowledge, thanks, I appreciate you being honest and frank. Then the second thing is, trying to keep their guard down and answering in the most genuine question. I feel like if you stand behind your product, if you stand behind what you're selling, the objection handling is going to become natural. If you believe in the quality of the service that you provide, in our case, for example, in real estate, if you believe in the quality of the construction, if you believe that their investment will definitely yield returns for years to come, any objection is handleable. Yeah.
I really like how you ask the prospect to answer his own questions himself. Where are we on a scale of 1 to 10? I'm about an 8. What would make you go from an 8 to a 10? Well, I have this and this and this. So it's so
now
such an easy.
I feel like
implement.
Once you get to that point and they've answered, what their concerns are, and you've answered, you've given your answers, then I usually ask them like, hey, well, we've, are we now at the scale of 10, right? Like, have I resolved all your questions? Do we have a deal? If they say like, hey, yeah, I think I need a little bit more time to digest, that's totally understandable. We're not looking at a gym membership. We're looking at a property. So remove the pressure of having to make a decision today. There's no need. They feel that pressure. If somebody feels cornered, if somebody feels pressured, they're just going to step away, right? So my recommendation in this case, it would be like, that makes perfect sense. As I said, we're not looking at a gym membership. We're looking at a property. And so my suggestion, so that you can have a full picture, a 360 overview, is you'll go away, you'll review the information that we've gone through today, you'll write down all of your questions for the next call, and then we'll schedule some time in 7 days from now, same time. I'll send you a calendar invite, and then in 7 days, we'll connect again to see where you are. And hopefully at that time, you'll have all the information you need to make an informed decision. How does that sound? Does that sound okay? And then most of the times they say that's perfect. And then that removes the pressure. It gives them time to come up with even more questions. You're not rushing the sale. And now you have 30 more minutes or an hour more booked in the calendar to keep building rapport, and the sale will follow.
That's a very strong advice. Out of curiosity, is there one sale that you made that you're really proud of? Is there one moment or one package you sold or one product you sold that you are really proud of, either from the way you sold it, either from the size of the package, or either from the relationship you had with that guy over time, guy or girl?
I think every sale you make, you should be proud of it.
Great answer.
You should be proud of it. You should be proud of every sale you make, especially in sales. It's kind of an individual sort of industry. A lot of the times you're just playing in the field by yourself. You don't have many people around you to celebrate. And yeah, I think you should be proud of every sale. Now, when it comes to a specific scenario where I was proud of getting the sale done, was I was speaking to this client from Cyprus, and in the beginning, he did sound a bit arrogant. He was at the gym doing a bit of bench press. And I said to myself, there's absolutely no way I'll get this sale closed, or I'll get this deal over the line. And yeah, I mean, after it was actually a very short conversation. And then after, 15, 30 minutes of answering his questions, he said, let's proceed. So that was one of those, let's say, a lot of the times when you jump into a sales call, from the very start, you kind of get, your intuition tells you, am I going to close a deal or am I not going to close a deal? With that specific client, that was one of those cases where I thought, he sounds cold, he sounds arrogant, he's not opening up, and he's doing bench press while we're talking. So he's definitely not listening. Funnily enough, he did end up buying a unit. And then 2 months later, one of the units in the same resort opened up, and I messaged him. I said, hey, the unit right next door just became available. The client that was supposed to buy it defaulted payment. I said, would you like to take it? It's right next door. And he said, yes, if you give me the same conditions as the previous unit. And then we just closed the second deal literally through WhatsApp. I believe it was around $200,000. And yeah, it was all through WhatsApp, no call, no voice notes, just a pure message, transaction done. And yeah, that was one deal I was definitely proud of.
Okay, so would a lesson here be never judge your intuition, because in some cases you can be wrong?
Completely. I think a lot of the times we get demotivated just by how the client looks, how the client sounds. And my best advice for every salesperson that is struggling to close, my best advice, let's just say, would be to, as you said, not judge a book by its cover. Show up to every call with intention. Show up to the call with the same energy as you did in your very first call of the day or the very first sales call. Always give it your best. Always listen to the client. Always believe in the fact that you can convince the client to buy. Don't get disheartened. Don't get demotivated throughout the call. Always go full speed. Go, give it your all until the very, very end of the call, because you never know, that client might end up buying, or that client might end up referring to somebody that potentially could want to buy. A good example of this was a client of mine from Dubai. He is also into real estate. He was interested in buying a property in Bali, but for some reason it didn't end up going through at the time. But then 3 months later, he messaged me saying, hey, Kevin, I remember your name, came across my mind. I remember your professionalism. I remember how well you answered the questions. And I thought I would reach out because I'm ready now. And that was one of those moments where you kind of become proud of the fruits of the labor that you build. It might not be now, but it might be in 6 months time, or 12 months time, or 2 years time. So definitely always, be on your top game. And yeah, I think that's a good advice.
Those are really good advices. Okay, let's talk a little bit about Bali. How do you like it so far since you've arrived? I mean, I know you've lived here for a while before.
Yeah.
But do you think it's changed over time?
I think it's changed massively. The first time I came to Bali was in 2019, right before COVID. And
I was there.
Second time I came to Bali was in 2023. I stayed in the same hotel both times, but I didn't recognize the street the second time I came because it just changed so much. I absolutely love Bali. I've lived in many different countries, many different cities. I lived in Paris, I lived in Milan, Chicago, Geneva, what else? Brighton, London, Barcelona. And after having lived in all of those cities, I told myself I wanted to look for something different.
Yeah.
I fell in love with Bali in the first time that I came. And yeah, I think it's the best decision I've ever made. I love Bali. I love the local people. I love chasing sunsets. I love the community that you're able to build here. I love the lifestyle. I mean, during the week I was working heavily, and then we just got on a boat, went on a road trip to Lombok. And I think that was one of the moments that I told myself, how cool is this? I'm surrounded by 6 killers that look good, that dress good, that are in shape, and we didn't even know each other that well, but we just had a fantastic weekend that I'll always cherish.
That was amazing.
So definitely love Bali. Definitely recommend anybody to visit Bali. And yeah.
That's crazy. What a weekend. I'm surprised you don't. I'm really thinking Lombok was absolutely breathtaking. I mean, Bali offers such beautiful views, but it doesn't offer the same views as Lombok. It offers jungle view, beach view. It offers, you know, kind of city view or city vibe, you know, energy, Canggu. But Lombok with these hills that you drive up and down, and then these flat areas, and then this blue water, white sand. Oh, that was incredible. And those streets that were just asking for you to go faster, you know?
That was the best, probably the best drive I've had in a while.
Oh, definitely.
The best drive, and it was completely unexpected.
Yeah.
I mean, we were supposed to drive with the chauffeur to the harbor to get that on that boat, but we ended up deciding to go by bike, and I think that was the highlight of the trip.
Yeah.
I personally think Lombok is prettier, more laid back, has better beaches, has better views, but Bali as a whole offers, in my opinion, in my experience, and based on my preferences, a better lifestyle.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just fell in love with Lombok a few days ago, but I agree Bali is still better. Another thing about Bali is I've been here 6 years, and 2 weeks ago I went to the northwest Menjangan.
Yeah.
And I fell in love again. I'm on this island for 6 years, and I fell in love again with another area of Bali. So yeah, I'm maybe I agree with you. Bali is absolutely incredible, and
it's very rare that you hear people disliking Bali. I think the 99 of the people that I speak with, they fall in love with the place. They either want to come back, they either want to move here but don't know how to.
Yeah.
So if you don't know how to move to Bali, definitely get into high ticket closing.
That's a good point. Do you plan to launch a high ticket course one day?
I think it'd be a disservice if I didn't.
Yeah.
I feel like, and I don't mean to come across as arrogant, but the more people I speak to, the more people I try and, pass on the knowledge that I've acquired throughout the years, the more I realize a lot of these people need it. A lot of these people actually benefit from it. The messages I get on WhatsApp, on Instagram from people that are grateful for the advice that I shared, either because they booked more meetings, either because their no-show rate improved, either because they closed their first deal, that makes me feel really good.
Yeah. And literally help them make more money.
Exactly. It's life-changing.
Yeah.
And 100%, I think that over the next, 6 to 12 months, I'll focus on building a product that will revolutionize the high-ticket sales niche, the high-ticket sales industry. As I mentioned, I think it would be a disservice if I acquired all of this knowledge across different industries and all of these years and didn't use it to make the world a better place. Not make the world a better place, but shape humans to their best potential. And yeah, for sure, I'll definitely be doing something in that space. So keep your eyes peeled.
Where can we find you on social media to stay up to date on your future courses, maybe?
We're just getting started, but you can find me on official Kevin Diaz on Instagram. That's my main platform. And yeah, that's probably where you can find me.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much, Agus. It's been a pleasure.
So insightful, whatever you shared.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's such a pleasure. Okay, guys. Thank you very much for following Coco Development Group on Instagram. We want to portray Bali as the place to live happily and also network with as many people as possible, just like Kevin, a high ticket closer. So if you want to reach out and we do a podcast like this all together, it's also an opportunity for you to go in our DMs, Coco Development Group, and see you on the next podcast.
See you.